Today we are having this press conference with the intent of two things. Number one, we want to raise public awareness on the issue of the Confederation of Salish and Kootenai Tribes Water Compact, as well as the enabling legislation that has just recently been introduced by Senator Steve Daines called the Montana Water Rights Protection Act. Number two, what we also want to do is take this time to publicly ask Senator Daines to withdraw this legislation and return back to state and talk to the people of Montana, its county commissioners, its elected officials, and allow us to participate in the negotiation to make this water compact better so it works for all Montanans. Senator Steve Daines told me personally himself that the water compact for the CSKT is the most divisive issue in modern Montana history. And his intent was to make this better. Unfortunately, the unintended consequences have made it worse. At this time, I'm going to yield to some of our other elected officials to point out some issues in the settlement and directly within the negotiation or the enabling legislation that Senator Daines has introduced. We are not going to go into the intricacies of the Salish Kootenai Water Compact. It is way too complex for what we can do today. And then I reserve the right to close. Thank you.
My name is Dee Brown, and I'm from Flathead County. I represent Senate District 2. I think we need to remember the history of the CSKT Compact was based on the Hellgate Treaty. And the Hellgate Treaty is easily available online, and I would like to just, summarize the articles of the Hellgate Treaty with the CSKT. It was signed in 1855, and the margin notes sort of look over what is talked about in the Hellgate Treaty. The Article 1 talks about ceding, relinquishing, and conveying to the United States all the right, title, and interest in and to the country occupied or claimed by them. Article 2 talks about the boundaries for the CSKT area, and on Article 3, it talks about the big thing with me is the fish. Now, Article 3 talks about fish, but the entire time we have talked about the CSKT with off-water rights, water is never mentioned in the Hellgate Treaty. Fishing is. There are a lot of things mentioned in the treaty, but not off-reservation water rights. Also, Article 3 talks about the access to public travel on all its highways. In other words, they can't put up a toll booth on Highway 93 and charge us to go through. That's written in the Hellgate Treaty. Article 4 of the Hellgate Treaty talks about the payments to the tribe, and at the time it was a sizable chunk. Article 5 talks about things like furnishing a blacksmith shop and the school buildings and the instructors related to free education for the tribal members. Article 6, they talked about surveys and permanent homes for members to be on the reservation. Article 8 ensures that they remain law-abiding and peaceful, which they are. Article 9 is an interesting, very interesting article for me. It says, the said confederated tribes desire to exclude from their reservation the use of ardent spirits and to prevent their people from drinking the same. Now, if we say that there's water that isn't in this Hellgate Treaty and no drinking that is in the treaty, we can't selectively say what is and what isn't. Article 10 is the exclusive use of the reservation, and they referred to the Hudson Bay Company. Article 11, they actually looked at a possibility for an alternative site in the Bitterroot, and it was decided that their present location was better than the Bitterroot location, which was chosen. And last of all, Article 12 was the obligation of the U.S. and the tribe for ratification of this Hellgate Treaty, and it was signed by, you know, the President and the Secretary and BIA and many, many chiefs. Many of them did not, they put an X by their name. I think that if we're looking at the history of the CSKT Water Compact and we're basing it on the Hellgate Treaty, I think we need to think again, and I think Senator Daines should actually withdraw his legislation and, like Dr. Al said, come back and talk to us. Thank you.
My name is Randall Pinocci, Public Service Commissioner for District 1. It encompasses 19 counties. It's the largest district. We deal in energy, utilities, natural gas, water. In 2015, in this very room, in Judiciary, we defeated the Water Compact. But with a blast motion, silver bullet, sleight of hand, it was brought back, where a handful of Republicans, 10 or so, voted with all the Democrats and passed this bill. Make no mistake, this is a loss of property rights, $2 billion plus in your tax dollar spending. And Dee is right, there is no reference to water rights in the Hellgate Treaty. Fishing access, hunting access, but no water rights. Constituents across my district, the 19 counties, are asking me, is Daines' new compact fixed the problems? Is it the same, or has it made it worse? We owe an answer to the people of Montana what the new version really accomplishes. So I encourage that we get that answer to the public. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Gail Decker. I am a Lake County Commissioner. I'm representing Lake County and the other two commissioners. We are solid in our disapproval of this act as the senator has proposed it. Between the three commissioners, we have about 35 years of experience, and so we have been very involved in the Water Compact negotiations that went on in Helena. In fact, one of our commissioners came to Helena and testified in favor of passage of the Water Compact. We are now concerned about Senator Daines' bill for several reasons. Number one, the Settlement Act, if there is a conflict between the compact that was passed by the legislature and the Senator's Settlement Act, the Settlement Act prevails. And so there are some things that are in the Senator's Act that are contrary to what was passed by the legislature. So some of that is very, for the commissioners, we're very troubled by some of those parts of the Senator's Act. A second problematic area is that the damages report, which allows the $1.9 billion settlement fund or establishes it, this comprehensive damages report was prepared by CSKT beginning in 2011. In mid-September, we asked Senator Daines for a copy of that damages report, and we have not been able to obtain a copy of it. In fact, we have filed Freedom of Information Act paperwork to try to get a copy of this damages report. So we're giving a settlement of $1.9 billion plus. on a damages report that the public has never seen. We also are very concerning about some of the language in the Settlement Act. Of most concern is the definition of the word reservation. The word reservation includes the rights of way on the reservation. That definition is different than any other compact. So we have asked the senator to amend that part or withdraw the whole act. And if he wants to use a definition of reservation, use the definition that's in the Blackfoot Compact. We also are worried or concerned about the influx of folks that are going to be coming into Lake County. There's an estimate that there will be 6,000 jobs established by this act. There are fewer than 6,000 tribal members inside the boundaries of the Flathead Reservation. So the workforce cannot come from on-reservation folks. So there is going to be a significant influx into our county of folks from out of the area, and we're worried about our law enforcement, our drug trafficking, our human trafficking. So we have a lot of concerns about how the county is going to be able to handle these additional strains on our resources. We're also, the transfer of public lands is also a big issue to the folks in our county. The act states that there will be 36,808 acres of public lands within Lake and Sanders County transferred in trust to CSKT. Some of those lands will be our state parks, like Big Arm State Park. Now, these are potential transfers. We have asked the senator if Big Arm State Park, Wild Horse Island, Finley Point State Park, if those parks are in play as far as transfer, and we have been told that they are. The other part that is disconcerting to the commissioners is that we have no input into which lands are being traded. Those land trades will be negotiated by the feds, the state, and CSKT, and then the state land board will approve those transfers. So we would like to have more input into these potential land transfers. So in a nutshell, that's the major concerns that the county has with this act. We would also request that the senator withdraw it until we can sit down and the county can actually become a part of the negotiations rather than just a receiver of what these other folks have negotiated. Thank you.
My name's Joe Reed, and I'm the representative for the majority of rural Lake County. My house district is entirely within the Lake County, and so it's 100% covered by the Water Compact. I asked that this Water Compact be withdrawn, and because there are issues that have not been discussed, the lack of where is this county going to support itself when there's loss of payment in lieu of tax money for federal state property. There's the income source that comes off of certain state lands. All I see is that this is a damaging proposal for Lake County, and it's a damaging proposal for the people that I represent. And it doesn't matter whether they're tribal or non-tribal. I represent all of them, and I hardly disagree with this Water Compact. Thanks.
So I thank you for being here. Once again, I did not say that I am the state senator of District 6. That's the confluence of Flathead and Lake counties. And Flathead Lake is smack center in the middle of my district. You're hearing a lot of controversial and information coming from many different camps. And the truth is this is a very complex issue. At its reach, you hear one side saying that this new legislation saves the water for everybody. Yet on the other side from us, that it says that it takes the water from 350,000 people. Understand that this is complex. There is a contract called a compact. It will be between the state, the federal government, and the tribe. It's a contract, and that's called the CSKT Water Compact. Within that contract, it specifically says if there's any discrepancy or argument about what this compact stands for, the ultimate purveyor or the ultimate authority of this compact is found in the water abstracts. Senator Daines has created a settlement legislation to enable this contract, which we call a compact. In it, he made a side agreement with the CSKT to say, well, just ignore some of those water abstracts. He did not change the compact. If he did, constitutionally, it would have to return to the state for ratification and our approval. We are being told by the federal government it does not have to. Senator John Tester tells us the water compact is unchanged. The fact is that in that compact, well, as you see here, this affects us. Western Montana and our counties, our districts, are not at the table for these negotiations. We have been on the table for these negotiations. And we would give the CSKT, the Confederation of Salish and Kootenai Tribes, full faith in this issue of a side agreement. But unfortunately, in past, during the Kerr Dam transfer, they promised on a sidebar that they would continue to pay funding to Lake County in lieu of taxes. And then when the actual transfer did occur, 10 days later, they said, we will not do any such thing. So unfortunately, those that stand in front of you have lost faith in those discussions with the CSKT. This ends our presentation. We will stand up here and be available for questions, and then we should finish up in the next 5 minutes. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Water is constitutionally given to it's our constitutional property right to the state of Montana. The water was given to us in the 1889 Enabling Act 100% by the U.S. federal government. The treaty that was from 1855, the Hellgate Treaty, did not talk about water rights. Water rights comes from a Winters Doctrine, which is a U.S. Supreme Court decision in 1908 to decide that all reservations have water. So this discussion that the water is a treaty right is wrong. It's a Winters Doctrine discussion. What do? Look, I'm a legislator. Our job is to fight for the people of our area, our constituents. And the truth is if we cannot negotiate and come up with a good answer, the next step is to go to the courts, which are in the state, and it's been told by the U.S. Supreme Court, it is the Montana Water Court has the ultimate authority over all water rights decisions in our state. Our constitutional water rights are worth fighting for, even if it means going to court. We are going to pay. When we have to fight for the state's constitutional water right, then the state, the people of Montana will pay for this, as we should. It's our water. If we can keep the water fight in the water court of the state of Montana, all judicial precedent goes to us. Their main argument that they have Aboriginal water rights is based on the claim that the right to fish actually means the right to own the water. The Supreme Court within the last 2 years made a decision that said that when you look at treaties, they have to be read literally. And there is no literal translation of the Hellgate Treaty that gives the Confederation of Salish and Kootenai Tribes the water of Western Montana.
What would you say to Rep. White
You know, Representative Kerry White is a friend, and in fact, we're family. I come from a large family, and the truth is that it's okay to disagree in the family and fight over issues and still be a family. Here's the issue. Representative Wright and Senator Daines, if they're correct, if by making a side agreement outside of the compact changes the compact, and we're going to trust the CSKT when we've already had a bad faith effort with the Kerr Dam, that's one issue, and that's where he stands. But when we ultimately look at it, the water compact, the contract, which would go to court, not the legislation, would say that any discrepancy, any controversy, you go to the water compact water abstracts. And in the water abstracts, they say that the Confederation of the Salish and Kootenai tribes have all the water. So either he's changed the compact or he hasn't. Okay. Yes, sir.
Many of the citizens have asked why this ever got out of the legislature. I personally have talked to a lot of legislators and never even had a chance to really see it because it was so voluminous. Is there a chance that we could bring this back to the legislature of Montana to have this discussion and move forward on behalf of the citizens where we have representation here instead of in Washington, D.C.?
The answer is yes. Senate Bill 262 by Senator Chaz Vincent of Lincoln County had put in his enabling legislation that we could not, as a legislature or as a governor or of any branch of authority, touch the water compact at any time until this year, or I'm sorry, of 2019 in June. So now, coming into the next legislature in 2021, we have the full authority that the legislature and the governor's office can work together to bring back, to modify Senate Bill 262 and therefore the compact to any degree that we wish. It is in our full authority and power to do so.
Is that something you and your colleagues are discussing or actively planning to do at this time?
Yes.
Can you elaborate on what exactly are you suggesting a full response?
No, there has been an open and active dialogue, and it occurred even before, because we knew when the deadline was. It was in June of 2019, that the only thing that we can do as a state is to change the law that enables a compact. We can disable the law. We can fully repeal the law or a portion of it. As far as the details to that, I think that would, that's still a work in progress. And for me to give you any other ideas would be starting to stretch the idea of a campaign.
I'd just like to add my 2 cents. I think that legislators are not opposed to a water compact. In fact, I have participated and voted on many water compacts in the state of Montana in the last 16 years. I think it's prudent of us, especially with this compact, that is so different from the others, that is so different from, the Blackfeet compact. I just think it's that off-reservation water right is the sticker, but I am not opposed to water rights, a water right compact that actually gives them some water rights. It's just the amount.
Yes, sir. The bison range. Yeah. Well, I would say that at this time, that is a purview of a discussion between the federal government, which Senator Steve Daines represents, and you. It's a national wildlife refuge, and it would be a first-time precedent of giving federal public lands that belong to the American people to a third party. And if that can happen, it can happen elsewhere. The Arctic National Wild Refuge is one that there's great pressure for the Greenwich tribe, which are the caribou people of Alaska. We could also go on and talk about the Teddy Roosevelt National Park. And I understand. We have passionate feelings on both sides, as we should. We're Americans.
When the Settlement Act draft came to Lake County, we sent a list of several questions to the senator, areas that we were confused about that weren't quite clear. So when we asked about these potential land transfers and school district sections, Big Arm State Park actually sits on a school district section. And so we were wondering if that park, which I believe is the second most visited park in the state of Montana, was on the table as far as one of these transfers. So the email that we got back from Ron Catlett, who is Senator Daines's Northwest Field representative, when we asked him the question, is Big Arm State Park and Wild Horse Island and Finley Point State Park on the table as far as potential transfer, the answer was yes. Now, whether or not that would ever occur is up for debate, I guess, because what would the state have to transfer to Lake County that would be equal in value to Big Arm State Park? So to find a parcel that's equal in value would be very difficult for the state, but it still is, according to the senator, on the table as a discussion item.
Thank you, guys.
So once again, this ends our presentation, and we're available for individual comment for the next 10 minutes. Thank you.